I'm gonna give you a moment to like, share, comment, subscribe, that sort of thing. Especially subscribe. Go on, give your boy a sub to your boy. You know what I mean? Yafeuh Balogun, street reporter. Uh, so just give you a moment or two to like this, subscribe, and share if you can. This is from a revolutionary perspective, at least my revolutionary perspective. Uh, Speaking on trenches news, Martell Wiley. I don't know why nobody want to say his name. I understand folks got their name, like the name they known by, such as him, Trenches News, or Swiper, or whatever the name that he's known by. But let's start putting people's government name out too. Martell Wiley, and I'm quoting the Chicago Sun-Times as well. And I'm gonna put the Chicago Sun-Times article in the comment below this. So if you want to read the Chicago Sun-Times talking about Swiper, Trenches News, Martell White, it's gonna be there for you to read. They call Martell White a star witness, essentially. Say he's a star witness in the FBG Duck murder trial, um, and which is essentially a RICO case. FBG Duck, as you know, was murdered August 4, 2020, in the Gold Coast of Chicago by 4 alleged shooters, 2 vehicles in the Gold Coast of Chicago. And in the concept of Chicago, you could think about all the murders that take place in that city. I think Cook County at one point had over 1,000 murders. May have been this year or last year. Probably was last year. Had 1,000 murders in Cook County. The only reason that they concerned about this particular situation is because it took place in the Gold Coast. If it had took place in the South Side of Chicago on 63rd, or if it took place on any of those streets on the East Side of Chicago, they wouldn't have been concerned about it. But because it took place on the Gold Coast, where all the money at, all the people that you know are millions of miles mentally away from what goes on the South Side, the East Side, and the West Side of Chicago. Uh, that's where they go. And so that's where FBG Duck, unfortunately, that's where he lost his life. He was buying some birthday gifts, obviously, for his son. And this was during the COVID. And you remember how it was during COVID, where we had to wear the mask. Folks wear the mask, had the mask up real good, and you had to stand in line outside. You remember how distracting that was, especially if you were just trying to go in and go out. Well, he was just standing outside, and of course, allegedly these cars came up and shot him. I think it was over 30 shots that were fired. However, only 16 struck him. And to know anything about FBG Duck, he was a big guy, probably 6'4", 6'5", 300 pounds. Big guy. Took 16 shots and he was still moving. There's a video with him, with the police surrounding him, the emergency folks around him. Well, the emergency folks weren't around him, but the police standing around trying to, you know, take control of the situation, and he was actually still moving. He was actually still moving. Um, he was still moving, and unfortunately, later on, he lost his life. Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, made some very negative comments about him, more so less his family, and just really just folks in general on that side of town, I think. And that's probably part of the reason why she ain't the mayor no more. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm not sure about the politics there, but I will say that Trenches News, it just recently reported by the Chicago Sun-Times that Trenches News has been a paid informant for the FBI for 10 years. Like, whoa, like seriously. He's been a paid informant for the FBI for 10 whole years. That means he done worked in other cases, not just this case. Because he told a story in which came out to be a lie in his own testimony and by the Chicago Sun-Times. He was saying that he was contacted by the FBI for the purpose that he had been in communication via text message with one of the alleged killers. I believe Kenny Mack, one of the alleged killers he was in communication with. Turned out to be false. That he actually, when the murder happened, which was August 4th, 2020, the very next day, he contacted Chicago Police, FBI, and was volunteering. And it was only because he already had a history of being an informant and already had been on the payroll. He wasn't just a good Samaritan. A lot of folks, especially on his page, and other folks talking about, what a good job he did, sort of kind of position. Um, in his case, that's a little different. His case is a little different from a good Samaritan type of person that's not in the streets, that doesn't have anything involved. Well, that person, of course, that's wide open. They can testify and all, and that's not nothing wrong with that. But when you actively engage in the streets and you still committing certain levels of crime in the streets, still engage in the streets, and then at the same time you turn around and do what he did, which was use information for his own monetary gain. Not because this brother lost his life, FBG Duck, not because he lost his life, but because some financial gain, which amounts to, according to the Chicago Sun Times, $25,000. I'm gonna let that sit in your head for a second. $25,000 is the reason why he went ahead and volunteered this information the very next day after the murder. So that means that the FBI was able to make a case. Chicago police was able to make their case. That case was officially really resolved the next day, because they knew the vehicles. Um, Trenches News went and identified uh, people from the video, based upon his relationships with them, based upon him knowing them personally. He went ahead and identified those people because he knew them. That's crazy to me. I mean, it's crazy. Now, I'm going to talk about something for my revolutionaries. Okay, so I'm just talking about really kind of what's going on in the streets now in Chicago as far as the LBG Duck case. But now I want to talk about December 4th, 1969, and really before that. William O'Neal was a car thief, and he didn't want to go to jail. He didn't want to go to prison or whatnot. And so he got the opportunity by the FBI to join the Black Panther Party. Okay. And that was what his job was, to join the Black Panther Party. And he actually rose to become one of the top folks within the party as far as being security. He was real close to Chairman Fred as far as proximity. He was able to do that because he rose the ranks, and that was the description of the job given by the FBI. If he didn't want to go to jail, if he didn't want to go to jail. Um, I believe that there was obviously some financial contribution that was made as well to William O'Neal for his work, just like Trenches News. Trenches News again got $25,000. William O'Neal, at that particular time, I believe, for the murder of Chairman Fred, got $300. Okay, for the murder, Chairman Fred got $300. Um, and so William O'Neal, his job, well, if really December 3rd, the night of December 3rd, he had slipped some Kool-Aid, what Chairman Fred thought was some Kool-Aid, but it had some substance to it that basically knocked Chairman Fred out to where he couldn't wake up. And so December 4th at 4 o'clock in the morning, I actually been in Chicago out there with Chairman Fred Hampton Jr., which is his son. I was out there, and at that location, uh, Chairman Fred, well, the Chicago police came and they shot over a couple of hundred rounds in the building, and where Chairman Fred and his wife and a few other comrades within the party was sleeping. Uh, Basically, shot a bunch of rounds in the building, and what ended up shooting Chairman Fred twice in the head. That was their goal. That was the purpose of why they did what they did. Their goal was to try to hurt and harm Chairman Fred. You know what I'm saying? Uh, and so William O'Neal and Trenches News is basically the same thing. Trenches News, uh, it's did the same thing that William O'Neill did. Essentially, very very closely connected, from the same city, from basically the same areas. Uh, just one is in modern day, and one is in back in the day. Either way, it's the same connection. And really, the message to the guys that's currently in the streets is, uh, you know, right now it's just about trying to do something positive with yourself, and keep in mind that these types of people like Trenches News is all around. Keep in mind he was doing it for 10 years. It's only a big thing now because he was a well-known YouTuber. He has over 114,000 subscribers, so of course now it's a big thing because of who he is. But as far as that goes. But the main thing to take from this is, man, just take care of your families, man. Get out the streets, take care of your families, take care of your community, be positive as you can, and get as much money as you can. However that comes for you, just take care of yourself, and make sure you take care of those around you, and be peaceful. If you can do all those things, you can avoid these snakes more often. Because right now you got folks that's act like they in the streets and do street stuff, still currently breaking the law, doing all this kind of stuff, and basically just rolling on folks for financial gain. Not about It's not about FBG Duck. It's not about LBG Duck. Again, this is not about LBG Duck. This is about personal financial gain that this one particular individual just wants to do. Now he potentially put his family life in danger. And so think about it from this, not just himself, but you got kids, he got extended family, and I'm sure folks know extended family, and they just put folks' life in danger, which is $25,000 in this particular situation is not worth it at all, at all. I personally don't think Matter of fact, you got to be a bomb type dude that for $25,000 that don't even change your life. Yeah, that'll put some groceries in, and that'll put some groceries in your house. Yeah, that'll buy you a beat up, a beat up car, and yeah, that'll pay for some gas and all that type of stuff. It maybe even get you some smoke. But that's really about it, really, with $25,000. Not really a whole lot you can do with that unless you're going to invest it. But it's not worth putting everybody's life in danger, putting more importantly yourself. So again, peace, power, prosperity. Do me a big favor, like, share, subscribe. Now, I'm trying to come up here a little bit. So subscribe to me, share it, and comment yourself. Do you see the connection between William O'Neill and Church's News? I do. You know what I'm saying? Both of them set folks up, and we got financial gain, and it's basically capitalized. In this particular case, FBG Duck is the was a sacrifice, and then on the Black Panther Party, of course, Chairman Fred Sr. as a sacrifice. So peace, power, prosperity, your comrade, Yafeuh Balogun, street reporter. I just had to kind of comment on this because I kind of been following along with this case a little bit. Um, I do I do want justice for the family, or whatever, however that is, whatever that means. If these guys didn't do it, then they need to be set free, basically. And I'm sure they're advocating for their freedom. And if these guys did do it, then that's the other side of it. So, uh, peace, power, prosperity. Like, share, subscribe. This is Yafeuh Balogun, street reporter, checking in. Long live Duck, and deaths to the snitches. Peace.